Hello and welcome back to the Sharks World, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to cover a topic that many people have mentioned, but few have gone into great detail about. The topic in question is the benefits of healthy shark populations. But before we get into it, I would ask that you consider liking and subbing to the channel, as we are slowly getting to that 1,000 subscriber milestone. All of your support is more than greatly appreciated. Thank you. So let's not waste any time. Grab you a cold drink, pull up a chair to the table, and let's take a look at the benefits of healthy shark populations. Now, before we can discuss why having healthy shark populations is important, we must first establish the design and method to the madness of food chains. That thing they taught you about in middle school. I'm sure most of you know what a food chain is, but for the sake of covering all bases, a food chain is the physical display of the passing of energy. Let me explain. Our sun gives off an enormous amount of energy, and all life on this planet needs energy to fuel themselves and survive. Because of how much energy the sun gives off, it's impossible to absorb all of it. Plants absorb some of that energy through photosynthesis and store it. Herbivores then eat the plants to gain some of that energy for themselves to survive. Carnivores then eat the herbivores to gain some of that energy that they have stored in their bodies. The display of who eats what or who, and thus how the energy is passed, is called a food chain. Every ecosystem has multiple food chains that link together into a food web. Now, I know omnivores exist, but we're not talking about them in this video. Why food chains and webs are important is because of one word: regulation. You see, believe it or not, plants themselves have their own evolutionary arms race. Sharktoz, when are we going to talk about sharks? Patience, young guppies, we're getting there. Plants, to include the ones that live underwater, are actively trying to outcompete other plants. Why? To get more and better access to the energy from the sun. If there were no herbivores, plants would grow out of control, and the world would look very different from what it is today. Plants evolve certain ways as an attempt to deter animals from wanting to eat them or blocking other plants from getting energy. Thorns, poison, growing taller, resembling other dangerous plants, and so on. Herbivores keep plants in check by eating them, but who keeps the herbivores in check? The carnivores, of course. You see, if there were no carnivores, herbivores would eat plants into extinction, thereby causing their own downfall. As for the carnivores, this is where things get interesting. Going back to the food chains and webs, there are carnivores on more than one level. I personally put carnivores into tiers. Top predators are tier 1. Predators below them are tier 2. All other predators below them are tier 3. An example of each would be sharks as tier 1, seals as tier 2, and salmon as tier 3. The difference between a tier 2 and a tier 3 predator is that tier 3 predators are usually not a bother to most herbivores, even though they eat some smaller herbivores. While tier 3 carnivores don't cause a terrible amount of ruckus in a food web, tier 2 carnivores are a different story. Again, the name of the game is regulation, but you could also add reproduction to the picture. You see, tier 2 carnivores reproduce fairly quickly in large numbers. Take Seal Island, for example, an island literally filled with tier 2 carnivores. Were they left unchecked, these carnivores would put too much pressure on the prey below them. causing major shifts and or gaps in the ecosystem. The main reason for this, again, is their numbers. Why top predators are important is because they make tier 2 predators think twice. If any of you have played a card game along the lines of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering, you might be familiar with the concept of a necessary evil. It's a concept in these games where the fear of a card is more powerful than the card itself. You think twice before making a play because of the existence of a certain card. No, I'm not saying sharks are evil, because they're not, but the concept applies to them and all top predators. Tier 2 predators don't eat to their heart's content or eat a limited amount because of the fear and threat of top predators. The top predators make the tier 2 predators change the way they behave. Reasons for this are usually along the lines of the prey of the tier 2 predators are in an area where top predators hang out. An example for sharks are why seals on Seal Island are extremely cautious before they rush off the island to get to their feeding grounds. Or when a very small fish, pilotfish and remoras are an example, swim along the sides of very large sharks. Should a tier 2 predator stay out too long, trying to eat or attempt to attack its prey hanging out near a shark, that predator risks itself becoming prey. This is part of what contributes to the evolutionary arms race. Now, the piece that ties all of this together is, again, the reproductive numbers. The reason why predator and prey relationships usually work is because there's usually more prey than predator. One lion for every 20-ish zebras, gazelles, and so on, and one shark for every 25 to 30-ish seals, fish, dolphins, and so on. Top predators, sharks in particular, usually don't reproduce that often. They have long gestation periods and give birth to very few young. If this wasn't the case, top predators would eat the tier 2 predators into extinction, thus leading to their own demise. There's only so much energy to go around. This is how they keep the balance. There's very few of them, but the threat of them and them eating the weakest of the tier 2s keeps the gene pool healthy. It promotes diversity among the species and forces them to come up with new ways to survive. Areas in the ocean with healthy shark populations have the most diversity and healthy food webs. When sharks are hunted and overfished, tier 2 predators have more freedom to eat the prey below them, thus disrupting the food webs. For the record, overfishing is the biggest threat to sharks worldwide. I recommend giving Dr. David Schiffman's book, Why Sharks Matter, a read. Losing healthy shark populations has second and third order effects. For any of you fishermen out there, if there's a shortage on certain fish stock, there's a good chance not having sharks around to keep the predators that eat that stock in check is one of the reasons. For ocean tourists, losing business because the usual spots you would take guests to aren't as lively, or the main attraction species are few in numbers, there's a good chance that a decimated shark population is a contributing factor. The ocean needs sharks. We as humans need sharks. Obviously, the conversation of save the planet comes up. Let's be very clear here. The planet itself will be fine. That oh so famous line from Jurassic Park here rings. Life finds a way. Our planet has survived multiple mass extinctions. Continents and landmass is shifting. Violent acts of nature. Drastic changes in temperature. Asteroids. High School Musical. 50 Shades of Our planet will be just fine. Us humans are a different story. We don't have the power, patience, or agency to save our planet. It doesn't need us. But if we want to save ourselves, we must obey nature before we can conquer it. Now, will the world end if all sharks disappear? No. But know this, we are far better off with sharks than without them. Sharks are resilient, smart masters of the ocean that have been here longer than most living things today. I think we can learn a thing or two from them. This is going to be where we end things for now. Thank you once again for giving me some of your time, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then.